So I found this site in a northern valley in Peru. And sometimes when I'm searching for locations, I'll roll the satellite imagery date back because it can make identifying structures a bit easier given the seasonal landscape. And what I found here when I did that, though, was shocking. What you're seeing now is from 2021, and notice the abundance of architecture snaking its way through the valley here. And take particular note of this section here. Now, see what happens when I update the satellite imagery to the most current date available in 2023. Gone. Everything in that area just gone. It appears to have been leveled over for the expansion of agriculture, which is just unreal. But that's not all. If I move just slightly to the west here and we change it back to 2021, you can see the remnants of small architectural structures in this section. But now look what happens when updated to 2023. Gone. I mean, look what used to be there just a few years ago. It would appear that there were a lot more structures. Well, I decided that I had to check this out during my last expedition. So let's go back to that first area over here in that blatant plotting of agriculture. All right, so I'm about to use the drone to try to look at those ruins that got paved over. They are right over there. You can see it from the drone shot. And if you take a look on the right side, you can see the very little architecture that was left untouched, the ones hugging the mountain. But that satellite imagery was from 2023, and I was there in May of 2024. Now look at this section here. It's worse than I thought. Within the last year, all that's left now is this little section up here. And you can tell from these wall-like structures comparing the drone footage to that satellite imagery. All of this has been leveled over for what I believe is likely more agricultural expansion. So I figured I should probably document what is left here because there's no telling if it'll still be there in another year. Well, these are the fields that planted over the ruins. So there were ruins under here. And under here or on top, either way, they aren't there now. And as I made my way closer to this site to check things out up close, I didn't see any Ministry of Culture sign indicating that this was a known archaeological site or protected in any way, shape, or form. Does the government even know about it? Had anyone ever had the chance to study or document it? Looks like they're getting ready to do more crops. It looked like potentially a bunch of little settlements from the drone. This was it. This is it. See the indentations of the different structures. See, it's sunk in there in the middle here too. You could see the remnants of stone walls that had crumbled, with clear depressions identifying their interiors. This thing is vast. But that's, if you start excavating, that's a wall. It sinks down here, sinks down there. I mean, it's like perfect little rectangles or squares. Looks like it was maybe old terracing over there. That was definitely terracing, which gives some credence to this location either having been a vast settlement or for storage purposes, likely a combination of both, given some of the structural diversity in size and shape at this location. There were clear pits dug in some of these sections, no doubt by looters, and some of them were the perfect size for ancient graves, and this was one of the only sections that I was finding pieces of pottery. Now, going back to the 2021 Google Earth imagery, you can see that this section here also had some ruins. Well, this is what it looked like in 2024 from the drone. Gone. Now, while I was down in Peru, I had the opportunity to speak with an archaeologist who's actively working in the field. And he said that things like this are an even worse problem than looting. And it's happening so frequently and often that archaeology is having a hard time keeping up. I mean, if I hadn't rolled the satellite imagery date back, I would never have known. There is such a lack of oversight, and this location is so remote, I don't think anyone knows. And it makes me think, what was lost? Were there pictures taken of what it used to look like? Were there any surveys done? Unfortunately, these are questions that may never be answered. And this isn't a threat happening just in Peru. Recently, Bloomberg published an article describing how hundreds of geoglyphs and ancient mounds are being threatened by the quest of agricultural expansion. And this is in the Amazon in Brazil. And companies and organizations can often get away with these things because of the lack of oversight. And if somehow someone happens to blow the whistle, the article describes how these organizations are more than content to simply pay whatever fines might be associated with eradicating a piece of archaeological heritage. But let's head back to Peru. This time a bit further south, in the Huayura River Valley. There are several labeled sites here in the area, particularly indicating pre-Hispanic cemeteries, which you can see. So clearly, this land was once inhabited by ancient cultures. Well, let's go to this little alcove in this side of the valley. See all these structures? Well, that was 5 years ago. Now look at the 2023 imaging. Gone. And if you come a little to the west here, in the next little alcove, you can see the same thing happening. This is 2023, and this is 5 years ago. And based on what I saw at the site visited earlier in this video, I wouldn't be surprised if in just this past year, the rest of these structures here were eradicated themselves. Now, I posted about this location on the Instagram channel on April 12th of 2024, and when I did, one of the buildings here had a label on it, which appears to no longer be there as I'm making this video. Now, it's possible maybe somebody mislabeled a location on Google Maps and it got corrected. It's possible. But when I did see the label, I saw that the business it belonged to was Agro ISM. So I looked it up, and the organization is one of Peru's leading fruit and tree nut exporters. And their business has a registration in this valley, and you can see their annual revenue here. It exceeds $7 million a year from this valley alone. I reached out to them for a comment before posting this video, but haven't heard anything back. Again, maybe it was mislabeled, and that's giving a huge benefit of doubt, but the fact remains the same. This is the calculated and categorical destruction of ancient archaeological sites for profit. And I've surveyed these areas. There are dozens of other alcoves a mile or two away from where these locations are that could be used that don't have the remnants of ancient architecture. And maybe it's a little bit more difficult to start building things there, but what's at stake? Very, very, very unfortunate. Especially since there were no archaeological signs, no designation markers, no nothing. I mean, didn't look like there was much to be found there or looted, but there was definitely stuff that was. So I imagine that there's probably more to find. Now, I understand that people need to eat and people need to make a living for themselves, and I am all for those endeavors to do so. But this is not the case of some local farmer or group of farmers trying to sustain for themselves and their families. These are corporations. And only companies have the resources to undertake operations of scale like this. And they're also the only ones able to pay whatever associated fines might come with doing so if they're caught. But the sadder truth is that even for something like that to happen, the site itself would first have to be documented, of course, and probably have some sort of associated map deciphering the size and scale of it. And then someone would have to be tasked to keep tabs on it. And the lack of funding and resources and the sheer amount of sites in Peru make that nearly impossible. I discovered these by happenstance. And if I hadn't, would we have ever known? It pains me to think about how many lost locations are out there that we won't ever know about. We won't ever know what was there, how old it was, anything about the culture or the history or the pieces of the puzzle that those places might have played. We just won't know. I mean, I identified several in just these two valleys alone, not to mention a dozen more in other separate valleys. Like I said, this is not an isolated occurrence. In fact, here's some video footage from a different archaeological site that I made it to during the last expedition. This is a massive pyramid complex. And don't worry, I'll be making a video about this at some point in the future. But for now, take a look at all the agriculture planted right next to and up against this ancient site. There's no way that a majority of these plots did not overtake a piece of ancient architecture. No way. I can only imagine what's been lost and what we won't ever have the chance to study. I guess it's possible that backroom deals with big corporations could be happening within the government, but I can't see the Ministry of Culture actually signing off on the eradication of any of these archaeological heritage sites. And personally, I don't know the best way to address these problems. I mean, just brainstorming here and spitballing ideas, you could pay a local individual a yearly stipend to keep tabs on things, to keep an eye out on the archaeological sites in their valley or in their region. Check in with them every so often, like, hey, see any tractors go by that archaeological site? No? Okay. Or yes. All right, we'll send somebody out there to check it out. Could be a solution. But then comes into question the safety of that individual. And what lengths are these organizations willing to go towards to protect their investment? I mean, it's a huge dilemma being faced by archaeology in Peru, and I would probably say it's even at a crisis point. It's a sad reality. And I was only able to make it to a few of these locations. But it makes documenting them all the more important in my book because who knows how long they actually might be there for. I mean, this is the satellite imagery from 2023. And by the time I got there, just 1 year later, this is all that was left. These might be the only pictures of this site or what's left of this site. This is another goal of the channel here, to be able to gain the resources to better document, capture, and investigate these little known locations. Ideally, that looks like better equipment to take pictures and video and survey the areas to create models and maps of what sites like these might have looked like, and then pass those along to the proper channels to see what could or should be done at these sites. And if this is something you believe has value and you want to lend your support, there are a ton of ways to contribute to help make that happen. And I could use all the help I can get with things like this. So whether it's subscribing to the channel if you haven't already, or sharing this with a point of contact that you might have, or direct expedition support through GoFundMe, or joining one of the membership programs, either here on YouTube or Patreon, for example, if you have the means to do so. Even purchasing unique merchandise like this t-shirt, for example, that I created for the channel. All of it will go towards helping to preserve, investigate, and document these ancient locations before it's too late. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.